Hello, hello. Okay, I was asked to just give a short announcement for the people that are here. There is also the roots track in the first floor. So if people are interested in university research, you can also view the talks up there. And there should also be some interesting stuff. I think this year it's mainly about fuzzing. So if you're into fuzzing, also join up the Okay. How is the stream?
Perfect. So,
Then, welcome back after the break. So our next speaker is Matthieu Guitton, and he will show us how to build professional security teams and what are the challenges. Welcome.
thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. So first I want to apologize. I don't speak German. And because I'm a French speaker, I don't speak English as well. So you'll have to, you'll have to survive with a French accent when someone speaks English. So, I'm Matthieu Guitton. I'm professor at Université Laval in Quebec City in Canada. Yes, in Canada, there's people who speak French as well. And I will be talking about what are the challenges that we are facing when we want to build a workforce in cybersecurity and what we are currently missing. So first, I will be introducing a bit what cybersecurity is from a global perspective. Then we'll look at the challenge. And at the end, I will try to offer some kind of solution of what we can implement in our organization, whether it's a company, a government, a defense force, whatever. So, the nature of cybersecurity, when I talk about counterintelligence or things like that, I love to show this picture. It's a small town in Burgundy, which is named Tonnerre, in France. And why I show this picture? Because it's a birthplace of Le Chevalier d'Éon. Maybe you don't know him, but it was the first French secret agent. He lived half of his life disguised as a woman. And he was a very good secret agent. He was one of the handmaiden of the Imperatrice Catherine in Russia. Then he was one of the female lovers of the King of England. He gathered a lot of information. And what was he doing? He was disguising himself. At the same time, on the other part of the world, in Japan, you had the Enzo Jutsu, which was the art of disguise, which was one of the 18 skills of the shinobi, of the ninja, of the Togakuryu school. Why I show that? Because there is a convergence in information gathering methods across space and across time. We are always playing the same game of hide and seek. No, it's not different. The game is for the people who spy to obtain the information. And for the people who are spied, the game is to protect the information. So there is several ways to protect the information. But basically, either you defend your information, it's called security, either you make diversion, which is called disinformation. And in the digital world, it's about the same. You have cybersecurity and fake news. So, technology doesn't change the principle of intelligence and counterintelligence. What's changing is the quantity of information and the nature of the information we are protecting. But besides that, it's always the same game. When we manage cyber threat, we tend, I will take the analogy with a car. If you have a good car, a German car, or an Austrian car, you have a good car, you have a good ABS, you have airbags, you have everything, so you know that you can drive safely. That's the technical aspect. But if before taking your car, you are drinking 4 beers, 2 glasses of wine, and taking drugs, you are going to have an accident. Because the technology is not everything. There's technology, and there's a human behavior, cyber behavior, in the case of cyber technology. If you take into account only technical aspects, you are not protected. That's one of the reality of cyber psychology, of cybersecurity, that people are not taking into account enough. when we see the cybersecurity chain, the weakest link is the human factor. It's not the protocols, because we are securing them. It's how people use them. People do mistakes, and it's with this mistake that people enter into the network. What do we need to protect? So, we need to protect the individual, what is related to their identity. But what we actually have access to is not the individuals. It's the data related to the individuals. So at the end, cybersecurity is protecting the data, which means, from everything that I said, that the nature of cybersecurity is a triad. There is technical aspect. The code, the program, the protocol, the IT, that is technical aspect. That's one of the 3 poles of the triangle. Then you have the psychological aspect, the cyber behavior aspect. That's another point of the triangle. And finally, you have the data. Which are the data relevant to your organization? If you are a governmental agency, like a defense unit or whatever, what is relevant is the identity of your people, the emails, the things like that. That's something you need to protect. But if you are a biopharmaceutical company, what's important is the results of the clinical trials. But the name of all your people, you don't need to protect that so much, because it's not sensitive. What's sensitive is which drug I have in the pipeline, what clinical trial I have going on, and so on and so on. So the nature of the data is changing depending of the organization. Right now, when we do cybersecurity, we are pretty good at that. I mean, if I do a survey here, most of the people here, except me, most of the people here are very good in IT. You are programmer, you are computer science guys, you are very good in that. We are very good in that. What we are very poor at is that. So if we want to build a workforce in cybersecurity, we don't need to think about hiring good IT people. We need to have the 3 corners of the triangle. If not, we don't have a proper defense. So what are the challenges that you face as an organization? Again, it can be a company, it can be a government, it can be anything. The first challenge is a challenge of formation. Getting people who are trained. Cybersecurity is an emerging field. There is very few academic formation existing and available. There are some of them, but not that many. We start to have more and more of them, but most of the time it's people who are already engineers, who are already programmers, who will move to cybersecurity. But we are lacking a full, strong degree of cybersecurity. There is some of them which are being developed in USA, in Canada, in Europe, but there are not so many of them yet. The typical cybersecurity formation are focusing on technology, informatic technology, information technology. There are very few cybersecurity formation which even have one course of cyberpsychology. It is very uncommon. So it's lacking in terms of formation. The technical aspect, again, we are taking care of them. It's everything else we are not taking care of. And that leads us to the second challenge, which is a conceptual challenge. How do we move from that to having people being trained for the right things, meaning to that? And specifically, how do we add the behavioral aspect, the behavioral weakness, into the training of your cybersecurity people? You all remember this person, I don't have to name him, right? So the biggest leaks in cybersecurity in all the history were not related to technical issues. They were not related to technical issues. They were related to one person plugging an USB key and taking it out and throwing it on the web. It was not related to technical issue. It was related to people. So how do we add that into the formation and the understanding of cybersecurity in our cybersecurity units? That's a major challenge for any organization. That's a major challenge. Practically, how do we do that? Then we have a third challenge, which is the organization chart challenge. Getting people who are trained to do the right things at the right place. When we think about cybersecurity, we think about cyber. So we put the cybersecurity people typically in the IT department, right? It's where we put people, but it's cyber security. So how these people are connected with your general security department, with the physical security of your buildings. And I will give you an example of that. In Quebec City, where we are a real safe place and whatever, but we had a company who was mining for cryptocurrency. So they had expensive computer, very expensive computers, huge servers, and everything was secured. But they were in a building outside of the city. The building itself was not secured. So one night, people came with truck, and they took all the computer, all the server, everything. Because it's stupid, but it's as stupid as it can be. They were securing the server, securing everything, but they forgot to lock the door. Why? Because nobody talked with the security people, telling you basic things. It's an extreme example, but you have numerous cases like that. It's totally inefficient to have a network which is ultra secured. If anyone can enter into the building and plug a USB key, then, well, yes, your network is secured, but the entrance gate of your network are not, because you put a USB device and that's it. So that's what we need to think. And how can we negotiate this interaction, this relation between the IT department and the security department? How can we negotiate that, especially in big companies? I'm working with biopharma, like with big, huge companies who have a lot of departments and everything. Each department is on history, it's on culture. How can we negotiate the interaction between these two departments, which are fully different? And typically, we do it very poorly. And that is a challenge. If you want to build a cybersecurity workforce in an organization, you need to answer this challenge. The last challenge is a threat evolution challenge, meaning getting people to react appropriately to new threats. Cybersecurity is an emerging field, I just said it. It means that the threats are the same, they are emerging as well. So new cyber threats are constantly emerging. How can we keep our cybersecurity people stayed to the art? If you have cybersecurity people in your company, they are working in your company. They are not playing hacking. They don't have time to do that anymore because they are securing your system. So how can they be kept up to date of the weapon, of the offense? That's a challenge as well that we have to answer when we build a cybersecurity workforce. So all that, just showing there are problems. We know there are problems. We already know it. You don't need to have me to know there are problems. So what I want to do is to try to discuss with you path to solution. Like, how can we solve this kind of problem? And ideally, to provide operational solution, things that you can operationalize in your own setting, or in the setting of your customer if you are a consultant or whatever. But how can we find solutions? So I will sort the solution by the challenge. The first thing that we need to do is to optimize the workforce training. The most training we provide to our workforce, the stronger the workforce will be. That is true for cybersecurity. It's true for anything. I'm a university professor. I'm selling my stuff. Go to university, learn things. That's important. But it's truly important in terms of cybersecurity. So, realistically, most cybersecurity people are IT experts. They are IT experts. It's kind of difficult to ask someone who did 5 years of study in computer science to do again 8 years of study in psychology, so they get a PhD in psychology, and then if they are working in I don't know, biopharmaceutical companies, to do a second PhD in biochemistry. Like they will do 26 years of study, it doesn't work. So we have to work with what we have, and what we have is IT specialists. What we can do is, from their specialty, to superimpose training, to add supplementary layers of training on specific point, not a full cursus. If you are a cybersecurity expert, you don't need to have a full psychology degree. You don't need childhood development. You don't need that. You need cybersecurity psychology, you need criminal psychology, you need these kind of things. You just need a few elements of psychological sciences. And those elements, you can acquire them by adding layers on your own formation, like taking a MOOC, massively online course on cyberpsychology, taking a university course on cyberpsychology, taking different things like that, or asking someone to give a formation in your company on cyberpsychology, and the same goes for data specific. So you need to superimpose training in psychology, cyberpsychology, and you need to superimpose a specific training on the nature of the data of the organization you are protecting, you are defending. When I say psychology, what you need is to understand what are the patterns of vulnerability of people when people will start to do things they should not do. What you need to understand, especially now in the COVID era and post-COVID era, is problems related to mental health. When people start to feel depressed and whatever, they are more prone to do things that you would not want them to do. Or sign of radicalization. You are in a nuclear factory and someone is being radicalized. You want to spot him before it has a cybersecurity breach. And do not rely on others to do that. You have to do it yourself as a cybersecurity itself, because at the end, it is you who removes the access. So if you wait that the human resource department tell you, oh, this one is having a divorce and is having debt in money and stuff like that, maybe we should watch him. Well, it's too late. The data is already stolen. So you need to be able to react quickly. And for that, you need to have some training. And the nature of the data of the organization. If you are in a biopharma, you need someone in the cybersecurity team to understand what a graph is, because some data have no importance. And some of the data you are generating, if you lose them, the company crash. If you are a startup in biotech, if you look the data of your last clinical trial, you are fired, because everybody is fired because the company crashed. So you really need to understand what you need to protect, so you are sure that you are putting the right effort on the right things. Not everything in an organization has the same value. And if you have to put your effort somewhere, you need to know where you have to put your efforts. Okay, that's the best word. Like someone has the time and the resources to be trained in 3 fields. It's not going to happen everywhere. So you have alternative solution. And if you cannot have 3 in 1, well, go for 3 in 3. Instead of considering cybersecurity as an IT specialty, consider and structure your cybersecurity unit as a team. You have a cybersecurity team with 3 people or 3 kind of people, okay? You can have more than 1 cybersecurity expert, but 3 profiles in your cybersecurity unit. You have, obviously, the IT person, the one who is doing the coding, okay? The real cybersecurity guy, the one, this one you need it, obviously. And typically you have it. What you don't have are the 2 other members of the team, which are as important as the first one, but overlooked most of the time. The first one is a cyberpsychologist. So, or the psychologist. It means, basically, it's someone who is kind of the guy you have in the human resource team or human resource management, but that is not working for human resource management. He's working with you and for you. He's working with the problematic of cybersecurity in mind. He's the one who will translate your recommendation to the workers. Because if you say, use this protocol, nobody is going to understand. The basic secretary will not understand. The PhD who is working in biochemistry will not understand. The IX will not understand. You need someone to put a bit of human factor into that. So that's the psychologist. He will go to people, explain, change your password, do the stuff like that, and he will also know what are the threats, so he will be able to monitor the other worker and know when there is a potential danger here, we need to be careful, and so on and so on. That's the second member of the team. And if you don't have this resource, you can divert it for the human resource, because typically in big structures, in human resource, they have a team of psychologists, organizational psychologists, or stuff like that. You can divert one of them to include him in the cybersecurity unit. And you need a content expert, someone who understands what is the organization's valuable data, someone who knows the trade. Because cybersecurity is not the same everywhere. Yes, the threats are different, but the threats are the same, but the targets are different. And you need someone to guide you to know which target you need to protect. And when the company, the organization, the government is moving to other ground and stuff like that, you need someone to help you to follow what they need. There is several advantages having something like that. When the three people will be working together for a certain time, they will start to talk together. They will exchange expertise. They will exchange knowledge. So your unit will work better and will be more resilient, because at some point, as the IT cybersecurity person, you will start to have better understanding of the content of your company. So it adds more resiliences. We all know what the job market is. Well, I don't know what the job market is in Europe, but I know what it is in Canada. Right now in the province of Quebec, we are at 1.8% of unemployment, meaning we don't have unemployment at all. So when you have a good IT cybersecurity expert, he's going to stay in your company 2 months before another company, typically your competitor, is offering a better salary, okay? So these people, they are going to change. If you have 3 main team, you keep a memory of what is happening even if you change one of the team members. So you add resilience to your organization chart, you strengthen your defense, and you avoid losing memory of what is happening, which is critical in terms of security in general. Then, you have to integrate cybersecurity within security. And that's very important because most organizations are not doing that. So you have to integrate cybersecurity within the global security strategy of the organization. More than that, you have to integrate cybersecurity in a security and data protection continuum. And we are talking about cybersecurity, but more and more we have hybrid attacks, meaning cybersecurity attacks which are carried on by a device which is brought by someone physically. So it's not just on the web. It's on the web and around. We talk about virtuality, now we talk about augmented reality. The same for cybersecurity. We talk about internet-based cybersecurity, now we are talking about augmented cybersecurity, about hybrid attacks. So this continuum has to take into account cybersecurity itself. It has to take account security of the installations. And that, again, I'm telling it because the server of the NSA, they were secured. I cannot enter the server of the NSA in USA. But anyone who is in the building who has a USB key, like Snowden, can just plug a USB key, take the data, and go away with it. Well, you need to have clearance to enter the building. So you need to have the people of cybersecurity talking to the people of security so that the cybersecurity people know who has which type of clearance. Because if people can enter up to this room, then your really secured server should be on the other side of the door, so that people with a basic level of security clearance cannot penetrate the area where your secure network is hosted. It looks stupid, but there's so many examples of attacks were done just by this way. There's another one in Quebec province, which happened 1 year and a half ago, just before the COVID. It was one of the big banks of Quebec, Caisse des Jardins, who got hacked. It was not hacked. It was a basic worker who went into the main office and took with a USB key the bank account of all the 2.5 million customers of the bank. And they sold it on the darknet. Well, he was not very smart, so he got spotted almost immediately when he put it on the net. But nonetheless, the damage was considerable. Okay? And that is just because someone who was not supposed to have access to a computer got a physical access to the computer. He was a worker of the company, but his level as a worker was not sufficient to have access to the server. Well, he had access to the computer. It's a bank. You know, it's not like a small company. No, it's a big company. So, and you have to add into that security of the workers, because not a lot, but some cybersecurity attacks are dealing with blackmailing. We are blackmailing people, and they are brave to give information that they should not have wanted to work. So if you don't take that into consideration, you are having an open door in your security field because people will enter this way. So as cybersecurity specialist, you should be aware of the risk of blackmail that some of the workers can have. So this should be integrated in a global security response. You need to protect the reputation, the private life of your people so that they cannot be blackmailed so easily. And it sounds stupid, but for example, as a cybersecurity specialist, you have to advocate to your higher X and things like that. Please do not put sensible information on Facebook. No need to do that. No need to do that. Don't put the address of the school of your kids. Don't do things like that. You are a big IX in a big company. Don't give information that people will use to blackmail you, and then there will be a cybersecurity breach in my company, and I will lose my job. Just don't do that. Don't do that, okay? But that's something you have to integrate, and typically it's not integrated in cybersecurity plans. And one of the key, in my opinion, and I am in the academia, so I might be biased, is that you have to interact much more with academia. Why? Because obviously, it was not the case 20 years ago, but nowadays, the initial training of cybersecurity professionals is going to take place in the academia. We have university, technical school, whatever, who are making cybersecurity courses. Some of them are excellent, and people are going to be trained there. So if you don't interact with us, it's stupid because we are training the people. So at least tell us what are your needs, so we can train the people as they should be trained. There is a need of dialogue to inform academic community of the needs of the field, of the needs of organization. There's a need for that, because if you don't tell us what we have to teach to people, we will teach what we think we have to teach. And it will be very interesting, but it might not be related to the reality of the business market. So help us to teach your kids properly. But it goes way further than that. It goes way further than that. Way further. Why? I will give you a small example. That's me. Okay? You recognize me? If I remove my glass, it's pretty... So that's me. I'm a researcher. But in my other life, I'm also an editor. I'm the editor of Computers and Human Behavior, which is an impact factor of 6.8. It's like huge. Okay, it's big. We have 4,400 submissions per year. This year we are nearing 4,500. Probably will go above. We generate 14,000 individual reviews of research papers per year on human behavior in computers, okay? Not on, I don't know, botany, zoology, whatever. No. Computers in human behavior, like cyber behavior, okay? That's just that. We are the highest ranking journal worldwide in psychology and interdisciplinary. We have the highest altimetry score of all Elsevier portfolio, and we are the highest academic journal in the world in psychology. What does it mean? It means that we, people from the academy, we see what is not published yet. We see the general trends. We see which country is acquiring which kind of expertise. We see what is going on around in the world before it's going on. And typically, we see it 1 year and a half, 2 years before it's going on. So, if you are working on cybersecurity, it's quite relevant to discuss with us time to time, because it allows to stay state of the art. Not necessarily state of the art of this specific patch, this specific malware, this specific ransomware. No, that we don't see it. You see it. We don't see it. But what are the research trends? Like, which country are acquiring expertise in social engineering? Is it a country which has interest against my own country? You know, these kind of things. So, all the strategic thinking, you cannot do it without us, because we are the one who are seeing it. The practical, day-to-day small stuff, we cannot do it without you, because you are the one on the ground, on the field. But the strategic vision, the global vision, we have it. That we have. And believe me, more and more of us, like people of the academia, are interested to share. Why? Because we have the vision, you have the small data. So we cannot analyze data that we don't have. You have the data. You see what I mean? That's kind of a giving agreement, which actually is the last point. If you feed researchers with a new form of attack, we can better develop countermeasures. We can do it faster, we can do it better. And what is more interesting in terms of a global defense force is that we can integrate that faster within the education courses. You know what I mean? So if we train the kids better to the new form of attacks, to answer to them, well, they come in your organization, well, they are better trained, and they are making the life of hackers considerably more annoying. There will be always new threat, but that's fine, because researchers are always researching. So it's not a big deal. They create, we respond. You respond, but we can help you to respond. So, in a nutshell, the take-home message, like, what can we do that? Just summarize the challenge, 4 of them: formation challenge, conceptual challenge, organization chart challenge, and threat evolution challenge. Those are the 4 main challenges that any organization is facing when dealing with cybersecurity. Those are the challenges you are facing as an organization. And they are the same challenge if you are a defense force, if you are a counterintelligence unit, if you are a government, if you are a big company, or if you are a low company. If you are anything, they are the same challenge in cybersecurity. Recommendation, and here I put operational, because I don't like things which are too much theoretical. So, operational recommendations. Operational recommendation. Get your personals expert in IT, cyberpsychology, and organization-specific data. Get your people with 3 formation. If it's not possible, provide expertise in cyberpsychology and organization-specific data to your IT cybersecurity people. You cannot have one person with 3 masters or 3 PhD, not a big deal. Take one with 1 master and give layer of continuous education in the field he doesn't have. If it's not possible, go with 3-man teams to cover all the 3 expertise. 1 IT guy, 1 SIC guy, 1 content expert guy. If you cannot have that, first, if you have one who has all, it's perfect. You don't have IT guys that you train in cyberpsychology and in the history of your company. You cannot have 3 guys. Okay, that's the workforce. Then, integrate your cybersecurity unit within your security department, not just within your IT department. I know it's more fun to be with IT people because you have Star Wars stuff and stuff. I love Star Wars. So it's the same. When you are with the security people, it's a bit different. But integrate them with the security, with the physical security people. Because it's how you will be more efficient as a unit. Because you will be able to cover the cybersecurity in the virtual space and in the real space. And increase the interaction with the academia. Increase the interaction of the academia. Even for continuous training, ask people for the academia to come in your organization, to give talk, to interact, to discuss what they are doing, so that you can have your people being aware of what are the coming trends. And these 2 things, I put a red box around them, because people think about the workforce, like the people. Maybe you will remember, yeah, we need to have more people in security. I need to give some psychology. Maybe you remember that. People forget that, because that is not due to the people. It's organization itself. So integrate cybersecurity within security, not just IT, and interact more than you do with the academia, because there is a lot of things that you can take from them. And if you are interested by that, there's further reading. So that's a small editorial I wrote on that just before the pandemic. And I will put the PDF if you're interested somewhere with DeepSec, I don't know where, but I will send them the PDF, so you will have them. And there's another one which is about biotechnology, but actually, if you replace biotechnology by cybersecurity, it's going to be the same thing. So this paper is interesting as well, because there's way how to give to people an expertise in a field that they don't have. So if you're interested, you can read it as well. And if you have a question, I got an email. So that's perfect. If you don't have an email, you can talk to me right now. And that's it. If you have questions, I'm here. Everybody's sleeping, no? Good. I hope it was not too much boring. I tried to make a show, but you know. So, do you have any question? Yes, I have a question here.
Thank you. So you were talking about hiring a psychologist for the IT department.
Yeah.
So if I go to my boss and say, hey, I need a psychologist for my IT department, he might ask me if I'm crazy, but, because psychology is not related to IT.
Yeah.
So how can I sell my boss to hire a psychologist? Because,
there's three things in that.
Yeah.
The first thing, you can tell him, do you know about Snowden? And tell, yes, I know about Snowden. So if they had a psychologist in the NSA, they will not have this leak. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you are not hiring it in the IT department. You are hiring him in the cybersecurity unit, which is slightly different. It can be in the IT department, but it may not be in the IT department because you are not doing IT. You are doing, yeah. Oh, sorry, excuse me. It's camera.
Fixed camera.
Sorry, I'm sorry. No, I'm used to teaching amphitheater, so I move around, and my apologize. So, you are not hiring the person in the IT department. You are hiring the person in the cybersecurity unit, which might or not be in the IT. And even if it's the IT, it's a special thing. If you have a website designer, it's in the IT department, and you can have a graphist who is an artist. So your boss is okay to hire someone who is not an IT people in an IT department, depending on the need. And the third answer is if your boss is really not willing to do that, it's not a problem. Take one of the psychologists you already have in the human resource department. They already have tons of psychologists there who are doing nothing. So take one of the human resource psychologists department, organizational psychologists, and try to bring it to you and see how it works. And if it works well, then ask your boss, see, look, it worked well. So now this guy is working with us permanently. So you can do that. But the first thing is that most administrators, I am administrator in my university as well, so most administrators are not stupid. Well, some are, but most are not stupid. So if you explain them the rationale of why you are doing that, they might understand. And someone who is not an IT expert might understand better that they need someone to monitor the behavior of people than someone who actually is an IT expert. So try, you might be surprised. Does it answer your question or not? And if it doesn't work, then you ask your boss to invite me to give a talk. And then he will recruit someone. But it's a very valid question. I mean, it's a process that we have to do, and it requires to change the thinking of the organizational chart. Yep.
So I have a question too. I feel a little like academia is currently failing in teaching IT security. I feel like even developers or technical people are not learning enough about IT security. So I'm really concerned when you say we should educate cyber psychologists. So my question is, I'm wondering, I mean, psychologists come in a lot of flavors.
Can you just remove your mask?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, my apologies.
Cyber psychologists come in a lot of flavors. So what's like the closest thing, the closest field of psychology that's there already that we could use for this kind of role?
Yeah. So actually, it's two questions. The first question is academia teaching things which are actually related to security? And I would say the situation is pretty different in North America and in Europe. I would say in North America, we are constantly much more connected to reality than in Europe. So that is changing because Europe is not made of stupid countries either. This is the direct problem. So there's an inertia. So I believe that even if now, today, there's not so many courses which are teaching properly cybersecurity or information defenses, I believe the courses are going to grow in number in the coming years. So that is not worrying me that much because I see in USA or in Canada, we already have very powerful cybersecurity training. So it's coming in Europe as well. The inertia is, Europe is older. So anything moves more slowly in Europe than it does in USA or in Canada. But it's going there. So that this first part of the question is not worrying me that much. The second part of the question is worrying me much because actually, as I said, psychology is a big field, and there is very few places which are actually training cyber psychologists. There is no cyber psychology degree. I think there is 2 in Great Britain, and there is a few like that all over the world, but very few. So basically, you get this expertise by doing research on cyber psychology. But on the other hand, if it's difficult to get an initial formation of cyber psychology, it's pretty easy to get a super layer formation in cyber psychology. You have a lot of excellent MOOC, and you have I'm teaching now, I haven't been invited by Renmin, which is the second most prestigious university in China, to give them a cyber psychology course. So you can have professors from all over who are coming to you to deliver just the information you need, because you don't need to have a full psychology courses. Now, if you have someone who is a trained psychologist and who has an interest in cyber psychology, then it will be easy for this person to learn more and to move to this field. But at the moment, you don't have that many cyber psychology courses. But again, if you move from a regular psychologist who have an interest into cyber psychology, it will do the job at first without problem. And then with continuous education, the person will become an expert in that as well. Still, with regular psychology, you have people who did their PhD or their master on questions which are typical of cybersecurity. So those people, if you can identify them, hire them, because they will be very, very useful in your organization. I hope it answers the question. Yes? Thank you.
The recommendation to have a psychologist and a content expert seems very focused on large companies that need a lot of specialized knowledge for different people. But suppose you have a small company that is very IT focused. Wouldn't it make more sense? The IT person would know what what data is important, what data has to be protected, and wouldn't it make more sense or be more cost effective to have the IT security people talk to HR and have HR disseminate information to the rest of the company?
It's an excellent question, and I will answer it. There's 2 solutions in that. So the first thing, if you are a very small company, it's unlikely that you are generating so much sensitive content. Because if you are a small company, you are generating less content than if you are a big company. And the content is more focused. So in this case, you are right. The IT expert, it's a small company, they know the guy, they can talk together. There is not so much need of having a content expert because everyone else in the company is a content expert. So direct interaction is sufficient. If you are in a small company, you don't have an IT department and a security department. You just have the company with people working together. If you have 10 people in the company, there is no department. So yes, the organization is problematic when you have a big company. Now, if you are a very small company, you might not even have an IT cybersecurity expert, meaning that you will hire another company who is doing cybersecurity to do your cybersecurity. So when you are a cybersecurity company and you have customers, if you go to a company, you need to ensure that you are talking with their local content expert so that the cybersecurity solution you are offering them are tailored to their need. You see? That's the problem is that very often, small company, they will hire cybersecurity experts from other firm, and they will all get the same cybersecurity plan. And one size doesn't fit all. So if you are a cybersecurity expert working as a consultant, let's say, and working for small companies, you should interact with a local content expert to make sure that what you are proposing them is actually protecting what they need to protect. And you have to investigate, because they might not be aware that they have different type of data. So you have to investigate to find which data they have, and which one are the ones they want you to protect, and you will protect those ones. Does it answer the question? Yeah. Thank you very much. It's a very good question. Yeah.
But the other question,
Yep.
the other question was about if you don't want to have the extra cost of hiring a cyber psychologist, wouldn't it make more sense to communicate?
It's difficult to understand.
Wouldn't it make more sense to communicate the data to an HR person or some communications person who then can disseminate, for example, password policies to the rest of the company?
Yeah,
and it would then to hire an extra psychologist that specializes.
Yeah, that dissemination depends. But I don't know if you worked with communication people. But if you do, it's a different world as well. It might be difficult to have the message you want to be propagated as you want. Because what they will do is a marketing campaign, whatever, things like that. The communication people of a company, they are typically focused outside of the company, damage control, things like that. They are not focused to internal communication. So the way they will use might not be efficient to reach the workers. So you need someone for human resources. But I said a psychologist, it can be a communication expert, whatever. It's someone which is from the human resource department. From the human resource, meaning internal communication, rather than communication which is external communication. Because you need to have your people aware of what you want to do.
Okay. Thank you very much, Matthieu.
Thank you very much.
It was nice.